and good morning, afternoonish. I guess I'm releasing these in the afternoon, so I'm probably supposed to say afternoon. But sometimes I'm filming them in the mornings, so please forgive me. I'm gonna set this camera down. Actually, I hot glue the legs in of the tripod when it's sitting on a machine. And we're gonna try and put this MUV700 back together. I'd like to hear it run today. I went ahead and put the piston in last night, threw the jug back on it, got the first couple fasteners back on it. I haven't put the studs back in, anything like that. We're gonna go ahead and work on all that today, and should at least get her close to running. I didn't see anything else crazy in by the crank or anything, but I think I think we're doing it. All right, so set up. Pink wire is just holding the timing chain. This is all torqued. Bolts on the side. I gotta switch this here out. And got the hose for the positive crankcase ventilation into there. And that's where we're at. All right, we're back at it. We've managed to hot glue the feet down with the Walmart glue gun. So that's good. That's on. This is going to go on the bottom of the cylinder head. Bolt or hot glue. So this will go. Gotta make sure that O-ring really seats in there. We're gonna go ahead and put that in. It's got a shoulder. There. All right, it's in. Got that bolt there. Yep. It's tight, and pull this up out of the way. Put this tube on here while we're here. These, you can see these clamps these are the aftermarket clamps because they've actually got the flat heads and the 8mm head on it. But the other ones are they have a little screw head back in there. All of the factory Honda ones are a different size, so keep it in mind. That's good. Wonder if we can check. I just dropped a stud all the way down in there. Let's rescue that stud. These are going in here pretty quick. So these have different color heads on them. There's not a whole lot of difference in them. But I did note that the yellow ones came out of the front and the blue ones came out of the back. They also have a shoulder on them here, and the shoulder goes on top. will note, I'll hold these here. The blue ones are just a smidge shorter. And we're just setting those there because over here we have just a little bit of motor oil, just a smidge, not enough to really do anything. I did use a stud puller to get these out. They weren't super tight, but they were tight enough to be a pain in the rump. I'm gonna start them by hand. Kind of feel them catching their grip in there. Just want to make sure they're started. That way you don't try and cross thread one when you go and put it back in. Somewhere. So these you can get them in with a nut on either side, and that works really good. We're probably just going to use the stud puller to put them back in, and I'll go get that. This is the old school stud puller here. I think I bought this at a garage sale or something. It wasn't anything fancy. I'm just turning these in by hand. Kind of a slow process. The stuff will slip apart. It is a little bit of a pain. Same deal on this one. I'm just gonna go ahead and run these in, and I'll turn the camera back on here in a minute. Okay, those are ran down. Here's our cam. They've got the little pieces here, little standoffs. Push the tensioner on there. We have our bolts. Just gonna set those right there. So we gotta, I do have to pull the chain up to get the piston together. Get the piston up to top dead center. So we gotta get that piston all the way up. Yeah. Okay. Come on. This is not the best way to do this, by the way. If it doesn't release itself a little bit, I'll go down on the side of the motor and pull it where it needs to be. Let's see if we can just get her to... Okay. Now, there's a plug. We'll pull plug and we'll spin it, and that'll be it. All right, we're gonna take this down here with a 14 mil and spin that motor. Hold that up. It's on the way down. Back down. Oh, no, no, no. Just gotta be real careful. See that the chain moves too. All right, that's it right there. Say 17 mil underneath. There's a 24 mil headed plug on the side of the motor, and then a 17 mil bolt. And cam. All right, so that's, I can feel it's engaged with the sprocket. Okay, so we can see when we pull that back, we are at least a tooth off. So we're just spinning that to the tight side. Alright, so we skipped tooth. That looks like it's it right there. That looks like it's top dead center. Oh, come on, get on there. There you go. Alright, I think it's there, man. I think any more would be too far past it. So we'll go ahead and get those bolts. 1 bolt, 2 bolt, 3 bolt. I did confirm that these are the same length bolts, because it's easy to break a case or something on these little motors. And then real gentle like. We'll find it. Go ahead and just spin these in. Once this is on and torqued, we'll go through the tensioner, which will be loads and loads of fun. I'll go ahead and pull the torque spec and get this torqued, and when we come back, we'll do the tensioner. All right, so we have the Magic pocket screwdriver, and we have a stock stuck. I'm just gonna just turn that spring in, but if you let it go, see, it'll pop back out. So we pull it back until it locks. We will get the screws, put it right there, and then make sure that when we put everything back together, that it's got tension on the chain. So we gotta have tension on that chain. We have to make sure that that is right before we start the engine. So pulled the bolts out and set them down, and I get to find them again. But we'll be back in a second. I'll tell you, it actually took me. I put my extension in my pocket and couldn't find it. We're gonna just put this here. Well, I have to make sure that bottom bolt gets started. Top one's started and got a couple threads in it, but bottom is not happy. Let's see what happens here. I've been trying to put it in upside down because it looks a lot the same. Alright, that one started. It just released. We saw it go in. It's just about there, so. And make sure that that's not overly tight. Get out of there. Alright, so that's there. It's under its own tension. It really wasn't very tight. I think the threads where they were drilled on the tensioner and the jug were a little bit whopper jawed because they didn't go in that hard when they were going in by themselves. But one of them deals. That's in. That's in. You notice this thing gets stuck a lot. It's a really nice socket. The socket gets stuck a lot. It's a snap-on. It's 12 point and it's 5/16, which is the same as 8mm. I use it a bunch. So we're gonna go get the rest of the pots, put it back on. And when we do, we'll put this other line back on and we'll start putting lifters and stuff in. In the meantime, we're gonna put a little bit of oil. This is just four-wheeler oil, it's nothing fancy. And don't worry about the paint, it'll eat it off. It ain't gonna hurt nothing. And it's enamel paint, so it's not gonna stick. It's engine enamel is what it is, but it's not gonna stick to the, it's not gonna, it'll come off in little pieces, get caught by the oil filter, and nobody will ever worry about it. So don't worry about that. I'll go get more parts. All right, so the dowels are still stuck in the cylinder head. Now, why is the plug still in? To keep anything from falling down in there. Anything we can do at this point to keep that from happening. We're just barely running these down now. Come on, get out of there. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and put the tappets in here. Okay, so we lube the cam, we'll lube these. It's real easy. There it is. All right, that's in. It's not a bad time to touch these a little bit with the, because you know it's going to take a minute to get oil up to anything. And then this line, pull this over here. Oh, it'll go on right there. We'll get this tightened down here in a minute. Well, first, we're going to go ahead and slap the next set on. Alright, so new gasketology here. Remember, it's got a pinhole right here, so it has to go on the right hand side. Whoop, whoop, whoop. This is the spare EGR gasket they gave us. Or not EGR, tensioner gasket. It's got to be all the way down. Alright, it's in there. We'll go ahead and set the valve cover tappet assembly down. Alright, so we got this here. We got an up and a down and a front and a back. And it coincides with these. A little bit of oil there. And tip it over. So it's got oil on both ends. Let's get down here where I can these are located, there's two little holders right there. Right there. And you just kind of real slow and easy work it down, keep the valves. Alright, theoretically that's it. I'm just gonna set these 8 mils on. I'll pull the plug and I'll spin the motor over by hand. This over here, so I get the 17 on here and I'll spin it on that back side. Alright, this side's on. Now this side's on. Alright, I think we're good, folks. They seem to be working. But I'll keep turning it over a few times because I'm paranoid, but anyways, we should probably go ahead and start tightening that stuff up. Okay, everything's rotating correctly. Just go through and got a little bit of oil on every one of them. I'm going to put a little bit on the flat surfaces here so we get a good true torque reading. And then I'll go ahead and torque these and yeah, we'll be with you in a minute when I start doing the exhaust back on. Hey, I wanted to finish this thing up today and get it running and show it to you on camera. It looks like the previous owner pulled another trick. He didn't put the spring back on the oil filter housing. It goes between the housing and the filter, and I'll show it to you, but that really kind of needs to be there. It's part of the bypass assembly. These filters are they're on a shaft, and when the oil pressure gets too high, it'll push filter back and just bypass. It's got to have that spring on there, or else it just fully bypasses all the time, and you can't tell if the filter's working. It's not catching any media, really, as far as media. The media is not catching any debris. It's just bad for the motor overall. In addition, with the other problems this thing had, that's really not good. speaking that it was pumping all the oil up into the top of the engine and then just sitting there, starving the transmission and the bottom end of oil and smoking to beat the band. So we fixed everything we found so far, but I can't do anything else until I get that spring. I already bought a filter. It does not come with the spring. So the spring and there's a special machined washer that goes on top of the filter, and that's part of the kit. So I'll grab that tomorrow and we'll finish this up. I really didn't want to make another part to it, but it looks like we don't have much choice. So thanks for watching, and we will be back tomorrow.